the session to Sir. Here I am pleased and privileged to introduce our eminent speaker, Dr. Sudhir Nigam Sir. He is Associate Professor and Head of PG Department of English in BN College, Bhiwandi, Mumbai. Dr. Nikam is the chairperson of Board of Studies English in University of Mumbai, and he is also the president of the Higher Education and Research Society of Mumbai. He is also a recognized PhD guide of the Department of English, University of Mumbai, and 14 scholars have been awarded PhD under his supervision. Sir is also a resource person in many national and international seminars, and he also has been published widely in many international journals. There are a lot of achievements, and there is a long list of achievement of Sir. Dr. Nikam is also the editor of two journals. First is Literary Insight, which is a very referred international journal, and also one more is Contemporary Discourse, which is also a peer-reviewed international journal. So before passing over the session to Sir, here you please all join me to welcome Sir. Sudhir Sir, now you can share your PPT. Video.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Just am I visible and audible?
Yes, sir, you are visible. Can you see
Just one.
sound?
Sound is going.
Hello, good morning everyone.
Hello. So this, sir, you can share your screen now.
Please wait for 1 minute. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Is my PPT visible?
Not yet, sir. It is not visible.
Hello.
Yes, sir, it is not visible. Participants. Hello, participants, please off your video. Dr. Marina, please off your video. Thank you. Sir, is there any problem of sharing your screen? Sorry.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
अब अभी तक ट्राई करूँ.
Sir, actually use only one device for audio.
Hello. Yeah, I'm unable to connect. The voice. Hello. Yes, sir. Am I audible? No, just one minute. 1 minute. Showroom. Hello. Hello. Just let me know if I'm audible.
Yes, sir, your voice is very clear. It is audible.
Sir, you are audible, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay.
It's very clear. Your voice is very clear.
Share. Screen share करो. शेयर करेंगे. How would I know? How would I know that my screen is visible and I'm audible?
Sir, you are audible.
Yeah,
Right now the screen is blank. Right now the screen is blank.
it's visible actually.
Am I audible and visible? My screen is visible.
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
It is visible.
Okay. Hello. All participants, can you answer please? Is it
Hello.
visible?
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. It is visible.
Okay.
It is visible.
Okay. Good morning, friends. I assume that I am visible to you. My screen is visible to you.
Yes, sir.
I am
It's
extremely sorry
visible.
for the technical problem in joining the meeting. I beg pardon for the same.
No, sir.
So,
It's
friends, today I'm going to talk or interact with you on communication skills, modes, and knowledge dissemination. I thank the organizers for inviting me here for the training program, and I am highly indebted to the organizers for tolerating me in the technical glitches and helping me out. So, friends, the revolution in information technology and the rapid globalization have brought communication to the front line of academia and industry. With the whole world becoming a global market and business getting varied and result oriented, professionals, scientists, teachers, and students are facing newer challenges in communication every day. So this is we are aware about. Uh, we have to communicate with the entire world with the people of different nationalities at call centers and various IT industries or even in teaching industry with various backgrounds and diverse experiences. The greatest need of the hour is to learn to work together as a team. So without team working is not possible or it is incomplete or it does not take a proper shape. To exit in this mode of working, organizations and institutions require a high level of proficiency in oral and written English. So English is inevitable, though it is a link language to connect various people across the globe. Uh, there is no alternative right now. English as well as skills in interpersonal communication. Moreover, we must have traits of leadership and take up challenges and responsibilities to renovate failure into success. In the physiology of communication skills theory, these skills are called soft skills, which we are aware of. These are contrasted with hard skills, which are the technical competencies of an individual. That is, the skills gained through educational learning and hands-on training. Hard skills are quantitative, while soft skills are subjective in nature. So Charles Darwin says, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So this, the one most responsive to change is very much important. We should always be ready to accept the changes. So Darwin's words are still as relevant today as when they were first expressed during the early phase of the 19th century. Indeed, his words are more relevant now than ever before. The uh, explosion of modern information technology poses a great challenge to the youth. As a result, there is an increasingly emergent competitive global picture. In order to prosper and succeed in the area of technological advance, individuals and organizations have to be ready to develop and adopt new skills and approaches. Otherwise, the chances of their survival may be at stake. Soft skills are emotional synchronon of psychological survival. Hence, they are the prerequisites to anyone who seeks a job. Soft skills also represent one of the fundamental attributes that the new knowledge-based economy seems to be demanding of the employers, employees, and organizations. Expression is the basic tenet of human communication. It is generally achieved either through signs or speech or by the method of writing. In order to express what we need, our signs, speech, or writing should be meaningful. In other words, our communication should be effective. Otherwise, what will happen? We fail to receive what we want. All means of communication should therefore be clear enough to stimulate action. Poor communication will only result in poor response. Communication is employed extensively in the process of all types of interactions, social, educational, and official. According to Edgar Dell, communication is a two-way sharing process, not a movement along a one-way track. To communicate is to make an idea common to two or more persons. The analysis of the statement from the point of view of teaching will mean that number one, the communicator himself should be thoroughly acquainted with what he is going to teach. Number two, the receivers, the audience should be equally interested in what is going to be taught to them. The process of simulation should be heavily relied upon the communicator. Talking about communication, to communicate with one another is a compulsive human need. Mutual understanding is the core of human relations. It cannot take place without communication. Man is not only a social animal, but also a communicating being. This is very important. He is empowered with the ability to express thoughts in words. Communication is the story of man and his efforts to express ineffectively. Without the aid of communication, civilization and culture would not have progressed to this extent. The word communication is derived from the Latin word communis, which everybody is aware. It is the transmission of an interaction between facts, ideas, opinions, feelings, and attitudes. Communication is an interdisciplinary concept and can be approached from various disciplines. So we make a mistake to pursue communication only from linguistic perspective or language point of view, but we must approach communication from various disciplines such as psychology, education, management, linguistics, human resources, and so on. The process of communication involves sorting, selecting, and sending of symbols in such a way so as to help the listener perceive and formulate in his mind the meaning that exists in the mind of communicator. So there are so many definitions which we are aware. So I won't again go to the definitions of communication. So there are some theories of communication. Number one, it is the action view, the bull's eye theory. The information theory perspective shares the view that communication consists of a one-way act like shooting an arrow into a target. You hit the bull's eye, you either close or you miss. This is the fact. The whole activity of communication is centered on the one-way action of doing something to someone. How good you are depends mostly on how well you shoot the arrow and how well you make your point. The emphasis is on sender and his or her encoding skills. So this means that how you construct a message or organize it or deliver it is just as crucial as sharpening your arrow, testing its feathers, flexing your bow, and shooting straight. Another important aspect of this concept is that words actually have meanings, and therefore, if the sender knows the meaning of the words, the same meaning would be sent directly to the receivers, like a pipeline. In a simplistic view, misunderstandings would occur only if people did not know what words meant. Further, if misunderstandings did occur, you would look to the way the speaker spoke, communicated to find the error. This view pays more attention to tools and skills than to the more potentially important aspects of communicating. It does not spend much time analyzing the reason, except that somewhere along the line you used the wrong words, did not organize your message well enough, did not possess a good voice, did not possess enough credibility, as though credibility were a quality that a speaker could own. In essence, you did not shoot straight at your target and therefore missed a little. This view is still quite widely believed, especially by those who sell their expertise to people on speaking success, which promises to make one an overnight success in the field of communication if one follows a few simple rules of delivery. So there are so many spoken English classes which promise that English will be learned or speaking skill will be learned just within 10 days or 1 month. Okay, to come back, the next theory is there are so many theories, but as a on representative scale, I am going to present a few of them. The interaction view, or it is also called as the ping pong theory. Another favorite way of looking at communication is to compare it with taking turns in a table tennis match in a metaphorical way. You say something, I answer. You say more, I reply. I serve, you respond. This is the way. We take turns at being the sender and the receiver. This view accounts for more complexities of human communication than the bull's eye theory. It does include the receiver by adding the concept of linear feedback, which permits the sender to exert more control over his or her communication. Yet the communication process is still oversimplified by being treated as a process of linear cause and effect sequence. I speak, you answer. The weakness in this view is that communication is not divided into ping pong, stimulus and response, shoot and return, action and reaction, sender and receiver. Do not simply alternate in sending and receiving, and the simple linear model of cause and effect is inadequate to explain the complexities of communication from the academic point of view. Next is the transaction view, or it is also called as the spiral theory. Transactional communication signifies that there is more than a simple interaction between senders and receivers. A transaction implies independency and mutual reciprocal causality among the parts of a system. Human communication, like any dynamic process, is best understood as a system where senders and receivers simultaneously change their roles. Communication is not a static picture like view of still photography. It resembles more of a continuous flow of motion pictures. Communication views as a process is characterized less by actions of a sender and the subsequent reactions of a receiver than the simultaneity of their reciprocal responses. Who starts the process is an irrelevant question, since processes have no specific beginning or end. Any communicative behavior that we want to isolate for the purpose of analysis has a history and a future. They have lived in many places. They have said many things before, possibly to each other. In a transactional view of communication, you are the cause and effect, stimulus and response, sender and receiver. Not only are you the product of your previous communicative behaviors, but also, equally importantly, what you see yourself to be is in a large measure affected by how you perceive others to behave towards you. This is how you perceive others' communication. Your perception of other people's responses is itself the product of previous perceptions of previous responses, a lifetime of previous communication. To view communication as a transaction does more justice to complexities of process than any other conceptualization we know. Now coming towards the process of communication, which many of us are aware, but still let us have a brief view of it. The entire event of communication occurs within a common frame of reference called the communication environment. The point of the origin of a message starts at different levels of our consciousness, and the sender becomes the agent for transmitting it to the receiver. The receipt of a message through decoding also exercises an impact on the actual communication and its environment. The observance of the result of a communication by the sender is called the feedback. The message sent may not be same as message received. For this, a number of factors are responsible. Messages do not necessarily produce the intended result. Thus, the success of communication is measured in terms not only of the effective transmission of the message, but also from the achievement of intended result. Moreover, communication does not mean or imply agreement. There is always disagreement in the understanding of a message. Disagreement with goodwill is the soul of civilized norm of communication. Communication is a complex process which does not end with mere transmission of a message or information or idea by the sender. The understanding of feeling by the receiver strikes the right string in him for the intended result. Effective communication is fundamental to the success in our personal and social life. Communication is the lifeline of an organization, be it government or a public firm. The individuals who accomplish a task of effective management at different levels and stages initiate and undertake the undertake the right kind of communication at appropriate time. It is the right and just communication that stimulates an institution to implement the organizational plans willingly and enthusiastically. The process of communication is affected by the backgrounds, experiences, objectives, aspirations that both the sender and receiver have in common. A message can be communicated through oral channels, face-to-face conversation, telephone conversation, audiovisual channels like radio, television, and written media like book, computer, internet, etc.
हाँ ये रहा
So the types of communication
चल रहा है
that we
किसी को
need
फर्क नहीं पड़ता
to
लाइट क्या है
look into are vertical communication, lateral communication, diagonal communication, and grapevine. So I think most of us are aware of these types of communication. So it would be wise to escape this in order to finish the things well in advance.
क्या मतलब ये उन्हीं का है कि मालूम नहीं किसी पार्टी में करनी
So what can you do to keep from becoming a victim if
हाँ
there
गैस
is already a knife in your bag, and what should you say or do about your manipulative
ये तो पुराना ही
adversary?
दिखा रहा है
In order to
इनने भी
cope
चेक
up
कर
with
दिया
this, we need to do these things. Think before you talk. The company wants you to cooperate with your colleagues in corporate world. It does not expect you to open your heart to them. Be cautious about saying things to anyone in the office that you not want repeated. Backstabbers look for information to use against people they see as threats to their career aspirants or power base. Think before you speak to determine if your remarks could be used against you. So, psychology, some protocols have to be maintained. Uh, Next thing you need to follow in corporate world, learn the science that you have been targeted. No one wants to be paranoid, but if a colleague's smile seems a little forced, if he or she act excessively chummy or surprised, with unexpected praise, you may have cause to be very envious. The third thing you need to follow, watch for backstabbers up and down the professional ladder. The fourth one is distance yourself from backstabber but not from others. And the fifth one is, of course, you may not hear the rumors. Stories often circulate about someone in an organization, and the subject of the stories is the only person who has not heard them. Signal your friends and allies that you want to be in on the grapevine, even if there is a story about you on it. Not only will it increase the likelihood of hearing the stories, it may even discourage some backstabbers. Confrontation. There are various steps in confrontation. Step number one is enlist the supporters. Step two, plan the approach. Step three, public or private. You may handle the confrontation privately, bringing in the third party if necessary. Next step is keep your boss informed. If you learn colleague has bad mouthed you to your boss behind closed doors, ask for a private meeting with your boss so that the things would be clear. We should not be optimistic about the support we can expect from the management. We should always be prepared for this. What if the backstabber is your boss? You also need to think about this. And the success rate, 0 to 40%, but is worth making an effort. It is an educative experience in life. It may give you a lot of insights and life skills in dealing with difficult people and intractable situations in future. The next thing that needs to be discussed is the media of communication. So, media of communication can be classified into 5 major groups: written communication, oral communication, visual communication, audio-visual communication, computer and internet-based communication. Written communication includes letters, circulars, memos, emails, faxes, telegrams, reports, minutes, forms, questionnaires, manuals, etc. Oral communication includes face-to-face conversation over the telephone, radio, broadcast, interviews, group discussions, meetings, conferences, etc. Visual communication encompasses gestures, and facial expressions, tables, charts, graphs, etc. Audiovisual communication includes video conferences, television, uh, films that combine the visual impact with narration, and internet-based communication includes internet, email, voicemail, cellular phones, fax, etc. So most often, more than one media may have to be simultaneously employed to make the communication effective. Face-to-face communication combines the oral form with the visual. The functional importance of non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is also equally important with the verbal communication. Mostly non-verbal communication is ignored. However, those who make maximum use of non-verbal communication as complementary to verbal communication are the best communicators. So non-verbal communication is important for a variety of reasons. Non-verbal or verbal factors are the major determinants of meaning in the interpersonal context. Feelings and emotions are more accurately exchanged by non-verbal rather than verbal means. The non-verbal aspect of communication conveys meanings, intentions that are relatively free of deception, distortion, and confusion. You can imagine if the same lecture had been in offline mode, it would have been entirely different. Since I am facing some technical problems, and that is why it does not provide a level of comfort between the speaker and the receiver. So non-verbal communication is totally ignored here in the lecture that we are having. So now non-verbal cues serve meta-communicative functions that are indispensable in attaining high-quality communication. Non-verbal cues represent a much more efficient means of communication than verbal cues. Non-verbal cues represent the most suitable vehicle for suggestion. We can communicate our true feelings and emotions by non-verbal means accurately. Messages conveyed non-verbally are often involuntary or the result of reflex action. These are several types of non-verbal communication. The most important among these are kinesics, the movement of our bodies, like smiling, proxemics, or the use of space and our use of time. So kinesics, smiling and laughter are universal actions, but the meanings attached to them are different depending on the context. When two persons meet in Europe, for example, the first thing they might do is to shake hands as a matter of social courtesy. For the same reasons, two people meeting in Asia would perhaps hug each other or just bow their heads or say namaste and join hands. If the meanings attached to these non-verbal signs are not understood, the very same actions can lead to misinterpretation and the whole process of communication would collapse. So kinesis can be divided into three major areas: pre-kinesis, microkinesis, and social kinesis. Pre-kinesis is concerned with psychological aspect of bodily movements. Microkinesis is concerned with bodily emotions that communicate different meanings, while social kinesis is concerned with the role and meaning of different bodily movements. Paul Ekman and Wallace Fresson classified the body movements into 5 types. This was done on the basis of the origins, functions, and coding of the behavior. They are emblems, illustrators, affect display, regulators, and adapters. Emblems translate words or phrases. Illustrators are non-verbal behaviors that accompany the verbal messages. Affect displays are the movements of the facial area that convey emotional meaning, for example, anger, surprise, etc. Regulators are non-verbal behavior that regulate, monitor, maintain, or control the process of speaking by another individual. For example, we nod our heads, purse our lips, adjust our eyes, etc. Adapters are non-verbal behaviors that resorted to in private or in public, but without being seen. For example, when you are alone, you may sit with your legs flung over the arm of the chair, or you might talk loudly, something that you may not do in public. Next are proxemics, the use of space. How we use the space, it depends on culture to culture. When individuals interact with one another, they maintain some distance that is termed as proxemics. The usual nose to nose distance in ordinary conversation is 4 to 5 feet, and variations of even a few inches may create feelings of discomfort. The narrowing of this distance by one individual may be interpreted as a higher degree of intimacy, which may not be the liking of comfort of the other person. In different parts of the world, individuals of different cultures have their own sense of comfortable distance between them and the person they are talking to. The orientation of two people in a discourse will be different from that between a professor and a student in a classroom. Even though unknown to the two in discourse, one may well be a professor and the other student. It has been observed that this distance is the maximum in North America, and the distance is the closest in the far eastern regions, with Mediterranean countries falling somewhere in between. Effective communication takes place if one knows and respects these differences in non-verbal signs in intercultural communication. Next is use of time. Different cultures have different attitudes towards time management and work. This has always been the basis of argument. When people of different cultures meet at a common forum, the speech with which different cultures achieve their goals reflect their agreement with utopian time or the golden age concept of time to a considerable extent. In the advanced countries of West, the trend is towards modernization and progressive thoughts. Most Westerners seem to be time conscious, while people from the East traditionally have been observed to take more relaxed view of time. Don't interpret my late joining as the view of the Eastern, but it was due to technical problem. Next is facial communication. The face indicates quite a number of things. It functions primarily as an affect display system. No other communication system serves this function as effectively or efficiently. The person who is being communicated to can identify consistently and accurately the emotions of communicator through his facial expression. These facial expressions are usually a reliable source of meaning, provided the person communicated to can interpret or understand. Number one, what the communicator's facial expression could mean. Number two, how such meanings are apt to relate to the actual intentions and feelings of the communicator, and how he or she can develop his capacity to encode and decode meaning via facial expression. So gesture communication. Gestures have been an integral part of communication since time immemorial, especially when one needed to address large gatherings of people. It was, however, more suitable for communication among smaller groups because of the close physical proximity of the group members. Gestures represent a form of non-verbal communication. Every day, even today, a communicator's gestures are reliable indicators of the intensity of his or her feelings. Gestures serve two functions. Number one, they are reliable cues to communicators' behavioral predispositions, whether cooperative, defensive, or hostile. They function to regulate interactions among group members by communicating the members' attitudes and feelings. So, gestures comprise the form of communication to which all physical movements or postures to which meaning is ascribed. These forms of expression range from an involuntary reaction reflecting one's professional attitude to the conscious use of an elaborate code of signals, as in the occupational codes of railwaymen, supervisors, structural work and scouts, or the deaf mute sign language. Symbolic gestures may have the same varied or exactly opposite meaning in different cultures. Gestures are related to the group opinion process in many ways. Within group situations like crowds, mobs, audiences, and other face to face groups, the membership is affected not only by the gestures of leaders but by the gestures, physical postures, and facial expression of their fellows. Such gestures may be profoundly indicative of their attitude. Now, coming towards verbal communication. Verbal communication includes speech, types of speech, and oral communication. Language as a means of communication, that also I can skip. So, language and everyday communication. Uh, Linguistic functions, depending upon the linguists' importance, distinctions are made between linguistic and non-linguistic is made. Linguistics refers to the degree to which signals are integrated into the verbal content of an utterance. Since it uses words, the verbal language is the clearest example of a linguistic signal. An overall classification of all the different types of verbal and non-verbal signals is possibly only on a scale of linguisticness. Linguistics does not prescribe rules of correct usage. In any given situation, the setting and the circumstances may dictate the appropriate usage. It is impossible to generalize what is linguistically right or wrong. One can only be concerned with appropriateness. Communication failure could be a result of language failure. If you cannot understand someone's language, communication cannot take place easily. If we cannot speak each other's language, we have a language failure. Sometimes we speak the same language and fail to communicate because of the way we use. So using the same language is not also enough. So in any communication situation, the communicators are more or less skilled in the use of language. The objective of all communication must continue to be understanding, and language can be considered effectively only to the extent to which it facilitates understanding. So language is designated to help a communicator create meaning in the mind of the receiver. So this creation of meaning can also be called understanding. If the communicator has created the desired and appropriate meaning in the receiver's mind, one can then say that understanding has been achieved and proper use of language has contributed to the effectiveness of communication. Next is writing and printing, man extends himself through media. Writing made it possible for man to transmit his message to his people without direct contact. It also allowed man to record his history, works of art, and knowledge for the present and future generations. The Chinese gave the world paper to replace expensive Egyptian parchment. In 1450, John Gutenberg, by printing his book, enabled man to communicate with more people than ever before in the history of communications. Speech is transitory, writing gives permanence to communication, preserves the records, and it makes it accessible. Without writing, there can be little organization or permanence of knowledge. So this writing may be interpreted as digital writing or digital recording, digital record or digitalization. So pictorial and phonetic writing ensured that complete records of incidents, of history, of folklore, wisdom and sayings, of legal forms, thought and opinions could be preserved. So visual and audio visual media. So through visual and audiovisual visual media, man can share with others any language or image from he wishes by reproducing it via a printed or photographic process. The visual media has made it possible for people all over the globe to receive new and valuable information through books, magazines, newspapers, photographs, and other visual material. Extension of visual expression. Visual communication is a form of expression which in this century has been dramatically vitalized by the invention of moving images carried by cinema, television, screen, computers, and whatnot. Then photography is the art of process of producing images on a sensitized surface by the action of light or other radiant. Others are cartoon, caricature of the cartoon, uh, the comics, charts, graphs, statistics. Now, although we are talking about the successful communication, but apart from the successful communication, we also need to think about the barriers in communication or barriers to have an inborn sense of perception by which stimulus is classified into a perception, perception into conception, conception into idea and feeling. In the science of communication skills, this innate power of perception and its classification into conception and idea is called by the term perception filter. Perception filter, or it is also called as perception screen. Whenever a message is transmitted to us, the filter helps in absorbing what is relevant and discarding what is irrelevant. The mind shifts and sorts out the material according to its needs. The rest of the information is residue, which is called verbal garbage, to be thrown out by the mind at a later stage. We do not know as to where the verbal garbage is thrown out, whether it is done out of our mind or whether there is a dustbin for this purpose in the mind. No two persons are alike. All of us are unique in some way in this world. Therefore, our minds are unique individually. Perhaps this is the reason that there is always a mismatch between the mental filter of the speaker and that of the receiver. Hence, there are differences in understanding between the intent of the message and the message received. The path followed by the communication process is like a circuit. It begins and ends on the sender who initiates communication. The content as well as the context of the sender's message depend upon his or her mental makeup, requirements of the audience, and other circumstantial demands. Upon receiving the message, the receiver decodes it to the best of his ability and tries to interpret it the way he thinks it was originally intended. The mental makeup of the listener determines the complete partial acceptance or total rejection of the message. So feedback is very much important. When the receiver decides to send the reply to the message, this process is called as feedback. The receiver becomes the sender of the message, and the sender becomes the receiver, and hence the cycle keeps on going. This is the most significant part of the communication cycle. Here, the idea is that effective communication can lead to agreement or disagreement or partial agreement, and this is called as effective communication. On the other hand, miscommunication does not simply imply disagreement. Rather, it implies the lack of communication or partial communication. In communication theory, this sort of situation is called noise or noisy communication. Noise is explained as the distracting force which breaks the concentration of the sender or receiver and forces either or both pay attention to the disturbing elements. So noise can be of any type. It may be psychological noise or physical noise, mental turbulence of any kind of which distracts the speaker or receiver or prevents either from paying attention to the spoken content is called as psychological noise. Physical noise refers to sounds related to physical disturbances and distractions either in surrounding environment or somewhere close by. Now talking about effective communication, how to overcome the barriers to communication. Uh, there are certain rules, there are certain things to be followed to overcome the barriers to communication. Plan and clarify ideas, test thinking, create a climate of trust and win the trust and confidence. Time your message carefully. What, where, why, who, when. Reinforce words with action. Practice what you preach. Communicate efficiently. There should be a clarity in message. Communication should be purposeful. One should try to make one-to-one communication, which is most successful. Be sincere and honest what you do. The methodology that can be used for this is to test thinking, collate ideas and suggestions of others, support decision making, high level motivation, win trust and confidence, um, use feedback properly, use of simple and meaningful language should be done. You should try to make sincere and honest communication. There should be planning and proper clarification of ideas. Proper environment should be created. Create a climate of trust and confidence. When to deliver a message is the most difficult to forecast. It has been seen that often the best planning comes to a cropper when the message is not delivered at an opportune time. However, before delivering a sensitive message, a lot of homework ought to be done. So you should or one should reinforce words with action. Whatever you say should be backed up by action. In case your moves or actions prove contrary to your statements, the receiver would not trust you. He will not accept what you say, though your ideas may be favorable to him. He will look at your message as a trap. So you should use proper feedback. Feedback should be solicited from the participants to check whether the message has been effectively grasped or not. Question answer techniques can be used for this purpose. So this strategy is adopted to eliminate any element of miscommunication particularly when some far-reaching proposals are being formulated. Language should be as simple should as possible. Communication should be directed to a purpose and person. So now let us talk about role of communication skills in society. What exactly communication skills have to do in actual society? So like ripples that form when a pebble is dropped into a placid pool of water. We each have social spaces or circles that form around us. First comes a small inner circle, or those who are especially near and dear, that is our family and relatives. In the second circle live close friends with whom we often take our confidence. Thirdly is a circle of acquaintances and colleagues, those with whom we work, people in our association, union, club, or social groups, etc. And the last come other circle of slight acquaintances in actual life. Some people have more friends than others. Some people get along with even persons of volatile behavior or an single track of mind. They have, among other qualities, the quality of being a good listener and have a patient and positive attitude to life. All these qualities do not come to a person as a gift of nature. Rather, we have to inculcate or to keep ourselves self-educating and consciously learn from our past mistakes and present limitations. In this sense, communication skill is as much an art as it is science. For instance, a positive attitude does not come easily in life. We have to cultivate it consciously. We should not unfazed by our failures. We must not let unpleasant feelings to emerge in the case of failure in achieving our objectives. Nor do we need to harbor ill will to a person who has not done our work or has harmed out of pique and suspicion. In all trying circumstances, we must try to conduct the day-to-day business in life with confidence, goodwill, and in a civilized manner. The feeling of friendliness in transacting our day-to-day business in a complex array of situations is the cornerstone of a civilized society for its unity, continuity, and progress. As the whole world is on the way to become a single society, the need of friendliness and goodwill is in mutual adaptation and transfer of ideas, products, and values has made the skills of interpersonal communication the most prized qualities in a person's character and personality. Most of us cannot be celebrities like film stars, television announcers, writers, athletes, politicians, businessmen tied with rag to rich legends, etc. Nor do most of us want to be. We are just teachers, doctors, bus drivers, mechanics, businessmen, housewives. We all want to enjoy our life and want to have a larger and larger circles of friends and acquaintances. To this end, we must learn to listen to others, cultivate the art of good conversation and the art of keep smiling. The minute we meet a person, we form an impression. It may be good, bad, or indifferent. If I am confident, friendly, and can converse easily, my impression on others may be good. But if I behave in an unfriendly fashion and fumble with words and ideas, I would give an unfavorable impression on others. People judge me by what I say, how I say, and whether I listen to others with interest and intention. Now, how to communicate effectively in our pluralistic society. Uh, there are some ways to overcome this. Show full respect to a man or woman even if he or she is dressed different from you. Always give helpful and smiling eye contact. Your body language must be highly pleasing. Even if you don't agree with the person, be extremely courteous and helpful. Learn to appreciate the ideas and beliefs of other people. Treat the person as an individual, not as a stereotype, such as uh, many examples can be given. Put your prejudices always on hold. Always consciously think that you belong to this great country, not to a particular class or religion, and that he or she is a good as Indian as you are. Uh, to discuss some aspects of global communication, in a long conversation like negotiation of a deal, listening has been considered as important aspect in a world in a word, dissemination of knowledge. Uh, just a minute. Yes, knowledge dissemination. In a word, dissemination is an interactive process of communicating knowledge to target audiences so that it may be used to lead to change. The challenge is to improve the accessibility of desired knowledge products by those they are intended to reach. This means ensuring physical availability of the product to as large a proportion of the target audience as possible and making the product comprehensible to those who receive it. Rational, the production of knowledge, much of which represents invaluable intellectual capital, lies in the heart of modern organizations. However, the value of any knowledge product hangs on its effective dissemination to present the future audiences. Without outreach, the efforts of knowledge workers are wasted. For this reason, dissemination is a core responsibility of any organization tasked with generating and sharing knowledge products, especially of new kinds of unique that are as usable and accessible as possible. Dissemination of knowledge is just as important as its production. At the simplest level, dissemination is best described as delivery and receipt of a message, the engagement of an individual in a process or the transfer of a progress, a transfer of a process or product. Dissemination serves three broadly different purposes: awareness, understanding, and action. Indeed, effective dissemination of a knowledge product will most likely require what it satisfies all three in turn. Utilization is the goal. So there are some barriers to dissemination also. Most barriers to dissemination are psychological or social from the onset, but where effects to disseminate knowledge products are earnest, low impact is mainly attributable to poor planning and the absence of a dissemination strategy. Central to that is recognition that the dissemination process should be interactive, allowing feedback from audiences according to a cyclical model of communication flow. So key steps involved into it are: high performance organizations adopt a strategic approach to dissemination. They know their target audience. They formulate generic viable dissemination strategies that can be amended to different purposes, hit the target, they monitor and evaluate their accomplishments. They do so because they can answer the following questions. These questions include: what do we want to disseminate? Disseminate is only achievable and successful if, from the outset, there is a shared vision and common understanding of what one wants to disseminate, together with a way of describing that to those who stand to benefit from it. Number two, who is the target audience and what are we offering it? It is important to clearly identify who are the target audience. Is the map it is to map it to one of the categories in the awareness, understanding and action model. Since target audiences tend to be many, it is best to concentrate on who at the very least needs to be informed and then prioritize for awareness, understanding and action. Next, it is essential to think about what benefits the knowledge product will offer. A user is most interested in a potential solution to his or her particular problem. Successful dissemination strategies are those that actively engage target audiences and deliver what they both need and want. One must then examine the knowledge product and think of how it might be presented as a benefit and solution to users. Next question is, when do we disseminate? Dissemination exercises have milestones that must be identified and set early. They must also be realist. Another question that poses is, what are the most effective ways of disseminating? Reports are concrete outputs that can be easily evidenced as solid methods of dissemination, but it is important to explore and evaluate what vehicles meet the needs of target audiences most effectively and appropriately. Varying them will also increase the chances of success. Another question is, who might help us disseminate? Target audiences already have journals, events, professionals, professional bodies, and subject associations they engage with. Dissemination will stand a great chance of success if one can work through existing channels. Collaborating probably improves the impact of dissemination and reduces costs. Another question that arises is, how do we prepare our strategy? The strategy flows from the above to cover the objectives of dissemination, what knowledge product one proposes to disseminate, target audiences, benefits to users, dissemination methods and related activities, time scales and responsibilities, targets, costs, evaluation criteria for success. So how do we turn our strategy into dissemination plan? Producing a coherent dissemination strategy does not necessarily result in effective implementation. A clear set of actions must be articulated covering objective, target audiences, methods, vehicles, timing, and responsibility. How do we cost our dissemination activities? Having developed the dissemination strategy and turned it into a dissemination plan, one needs to make sure that each dissemination activity has been carefully costed. It is always possible to obtain estimates of costs for all aspects of dissemination. The different aspects for consideration when running a workshop, for example, will relate among others to revenue, to venue or room hire, equipment, For example, overhead projectors, laptops, refreshments, lunch, travel to and from the workshop, publicity material, and subsidies for participants. Next question that arises, how will we know we have been successful? An effective dissemination strategy will only continue to be effective if it is viewed as an evolving and constantly developing process. The context in which we work changes over the course of our activities, and the context in which users work are likely to change too. Therefore, it is important to put in place mechanisms for a reviewing process. However, one can only do so if clear targets are established at the outset. One of the most effective ways of establishing targets is to link them to the broad purposes of dissemination, which include awareness, support and favorability, understanding, involvement, and commitment. In each instance, it will be useful to identify beforehand the target group, the target, the time scale, the reasons for selection, and the criteria for success. So thanks a lot to the organization and especially to Dr. Dhoot madam, who could be here with me. And right now the problem with me is that probably I just assume that you are able to listen to me, but I am not able to listen to the participants. So the communication that happened today probably was one-sided communication where I was just speaking and I could not interact with the audience. Uh, the only solution for me to overcome this problem is that the participants may write an email to me. My email is very simple, sudhirnikam@gmail.com. SUDHIRNIKAM. It is plain. SUDHIRNIKAM @gmail.com. If you have any queries or any questions, you can simply email me those questions. I will try my best to solve your queries and answer your doubts, as I'm not able to identify whether I'm here able to listen to you. So let me thank the organizers for inviting me here for this faculty development program, and I hope the next sessions will run smoothly, and I wish all the best for the next sessions. Goodbye.
Sir, with your,
Take care.
sir, with
Stay
your
safe.
kind permission, can I have one question, sir?
Sir, can I call the question from the participants, if you give permission? Hello, Sudhir sir? Hello, Sudhir sir? Hello? Sudhir sir, am I audible? Hello? Sir, am I audible? Sudhir sir? Can we call a few questions from the participants? Hello? Okay, as sir has guided, you can mail your questions. Participants, you can mail your questions on the mail which sir has mentioned in his speech. So here I just thank you, give you a thanking note. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and enlightening us and our dear participants with your words of wisdom on the topic effective communication, its mode and knowledge dissemination. So our next session will continue on 11:45. Thank you once again, Sudhi sir and all the participants.